Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Swinford.
And I'm Monica Daniels.
Welcome to Squared Up. We are glad to be back with you on our podcast, brought to you by the Swinford Media Group, the publishers of the Marion Star, Heron Independent, Carterville Courier, and the owners of WFCN, the social media channels that are very popular in our region, as well as some of the others that we have. And we're grateful that you'll join us on these little conversations we have, catching you up with what's the latest and greatest downtown Marion and around the region. We are going to be joined in a little bit by my friend Martin Parsons. He's going to tell us about a veterans event coming up on September 7th, tied in with the 20th anniversary of Veterans on Parade. And this event's called Freedom Sings. It's going to bring songwriters and veterans together to tell their stories. And I can't wait to hear more about it.
I'm really excited. My friend Allison Hessler is going to participate.
That's what I understand. Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to hearing her song and her story, as well as everyone else.
Absolutely.
Participating. Yeah.
Absolutely. So stick around for a minute. We'll get into that interview with Martin. Before we do that, let's talk a little bit about something I noticed this morning on the square when I was going to the office. Mm-hmm. They continue to work on each of these intersections as they are getting ready to redo a lot of the surface, but all of this structural stuff that they have done to create the new crosswalks and passages around the square, just when you think they're probably there, they add another element to it. And what I noticed today were some poles that looked like they were going to be light poles. And I contacted Cody Moak, and Cody Moak, the Chief of Staff of the City of Marion, and he told me that those would be part of a system in those crosswalks that will light up every time somebody is in the crosswalk. And he shared me a video, kind of a demo video of what it might look like. And so if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm gonna put that on right here. If not, if you're listening to us, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I'll just kind of describe it. Anytime somebody walks into the crosswalk, these lights that are in the pavement will just start to flash. And so it'll be an extra way to bring attention, especially, of course, at night, to the fact that there's pedestrian traffic happening all around the square. The goal is to let pedestrians have the right of way and for drivers to be yielding to these pedestrians, because we want them to easily be able to navigate their way from business to business, restaurant to the Civic Center, and back, and of course back to their vehicles.
Yeah, I really love that. Because if someone is in dark clothes, you may not see them, and just like I am extra alert when I'm driving around the square to make sure to keep an eye out for pedestrians. But right. I'm just really grateful to have that extra security.
Yeah. And I'd noticed when they were doing all this work with the new intersections that they were putting in a lot of wiring and conduits running everywhere, and I was like wondering what all that was about. Now it makes sense.
Safety features.
Yeah, there's a lot of lighting going to happen around there. A lot of good thought went into this work.
Yeah, and you've parents that their teenagers might be up on the square meeting for some ice cream or hanging out on the picnic tables, and all that extra activity that's happening up there. Like every safety feature we have is going to just make it better and put us at a peace of mind, right?
Yeah. And you mentioned ice cream. So, my mind immediately went to the downtown dip in Carterville, which we've now been to twice in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We just went back there with your Sheltie lady the other night.
Sheltie dog, yeah.
And she didn't like the ice cream cone that I shared with her, but we love the downtown dip.
It is so good. They have an ice cream called the Exhausted Parent that has a little bit of bourbon thrown in it. It's really good.
And you drink that. I mean, you don't drink it. You eat it.
I'm not a huge bourbon.
Eating or drinking it.
I have to say, it really adds something to food or ice cream. Or
you can't have that much bourbon in it. It's not like, I don't think they have a liquor license there.
Yeah, it's not that much.
Yeah, okay.
But the ice cream is really, really good.
Yeah, really, really good.
Really, really good.
Well, I had like an Italian ice. Mine was very good too. So we love to plug the places that we enjoy, and that's one of the latest ones that we've gotten into the routine of going to now. I know a lot of people enjoy the downtown dip, and so keep it up, Carterville. Thank you for the downtown dip. We're a little pressed for time today, and we want to make sure we have enough time for our main interview, so we'll get into that now. So now we have Martin Parsons joining us to talk about a Freedom Sings event that's coming to Marion, coming up in September. Martin, welcome. Nice to have you.
Thanks, Bill. It's great to be here. Excited to talk about this awesome event.
Yeah, so tell us, first of all, let's start right off and we'll revisit this. Tell us when this is going to happen.
So the main event, the culminating event, will be Saturday, September 7th, in the late or the afternoon or evening. We haven't got the exact time yet, but afternoon or evening is the big concert, the culminating event for the retreat.
And that's
in the square.
that's the same day. And that's the connection I wanted to make right off the bat. That's going to be the same day as the Veterans on Parade, the annual event that takes place in downtown Marion, honoring our veterans and our first responders. And Veterans on Parade's a morning parade, and this will be more of an afternoon or evening event.
Exactly. I mean, the mayor has this vision of he wants to take this fantastic parade that I think that this year may be their 20th year.
20th anniversary.
Don't quote me on that.
Yes.
That he wants to take what they built and he just wants to really give that weekend to veterans. They've got a hashtag, Marion Stands with Veterans, and they have other events going on that day too. Ours is just one piece of it.
Martin's already told me a little bit about this, Monica, ahead of time. I'm going to have him kind of tell us a little bit more about it. But why don't you go ahead and tell Monica and our audience exactly what Freedom Sings is.
So Freedom Sings. It's a national organization. They're based out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and the VA there. So they have a partnership with the VA, and they like to partner with VAs in their music therapy programs, and they take professional songwriters and pair them with veterans, and the songwriter learns the veteran's story, and then they write their song. And through that process, the veteran's able to, oftentimes it's veterans who aren't willing to talk about their story or haven't been able to in other forms. So it allows them another outlet to tell their story. And there's been a lot of instances of real healing from being able to talk about it and then hearing that song. And so it affects the veteran, but then the second layer is they record many of the songs are recorded or performed, and other veterans hear that song and they read that connects with them, like, oh, that's my story. Yeah. And it can help them as well.
Yeah. So how long has this organization been doing this for our veterans?
I think it has been about 10 or 12 years give or take in its current formation, but it's really the last few years it's really been growing, especially with these retreats like we're hosting in September.
I love the healing aspect of this and how overlooked or underestimated it is that getting our stories out, or the veterans getting their stories out, how much healing it can do to their hearts, to be like, hey, we still see you. You've given away so much of your life to defend our country and to put yourself in harm's way to protect this country, and we see you, we value you, we want to hear your story. Bill and I have a good friend, her name's Nicole Hilliard, and she does healing. And one of the things that she has mentioned before when she helps people with healing is she says, you name it, you tame it, and there's something about like putting a name to our experiences that help just to kind of bring it into a more healthy place in our hearts, instead of just carrying things all bottled up. So is this something that's available for any veteran to reach out to you and say, hey, I want a song put to my story?
Yeah, so we're taking, I don't know if applications is the right word, but yes, we only will be working with, they do it in small groups. So we'll have 4 veterans this time that we'll be working with at the retreat. And we've got a couple identified, so we're still looking for a couple of veterans, a Vietnam era veteran and a Korean War veteran are sort of the war eras that we're looking to fill. And they could reach out to us at our email that Bill has to kind of self-nominate or to express their interest. and then we can reach out with the additional information that we would need from them.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
in your years of doing this, does anything stand out in your mind as something that's somebody's story that really just stands out in your mind, that really grabbed your heart, that you can share with us?
Yeah, well, most recently, because we were going to host one of these, we went and experienced one in Hayworth, Illinois. I have family in that area, so I took it as an opportunity to visit family and then go to this event. And we went to the culminating concert where they had the 4 veterans, and my wife was speaking to the wife of one of the Vietnam era veterans who was selected and had his story told, his song made. And she was talking to her, and the woman, the wife said, they called and they wanted to talk to Joe about this. And I said, good luck. Joe doesn't talk about this. Hasn't in the 60 years we've been married. He doesn't talk about it. He doesn't really talk. He's not very conversational, but good luck. She wasn't very hopeful at all that they would be able to get anything from Joe. And they spent about a half day or so, the songwriters, talking to Joe, and they got his story and they made his song. And when they played that song at this concert, Joe was standing up on his walker, proud, because he had finally shared. His wife was crying. Because he had finally, after years and years, been able to give up some of that to someone and share it finally. I don't know the long-term effects of that, but I just have to believe that was some kind of important moment in both of their lives, really, because the spouses, the family members, are often the forgotten casualties of our service, and they bear a lot of this burden, oftentimes unrecognized in that. So I'm sure that had to be really powerful for both of them. So that was a recent one that sticks out to me.
So we'll mention again that the event that we are talking about, the preparations being made for, is going to be on Saturday, September 7th. It's going to be in downtown Marion, again, tied in with our Veterans on Parade, the same day as our Veterans on Parade. We are talking about bringing together a small group of our local veterans with some professional songwriters. And we are still looking for a couple of veterans to participate in this, one a Vietnam era veteran, one a Korean War veteran. If you'd like to make connections with Martin, you've got an idea on somebody or would like to nominate yourself for that, that email that we can use for that is freedomsingsmarion@gmail.com. We'll keep throwing that up on the screen for those that are watching this on YouTube, freedomsingsmarion@gmail.com. We encourage you to reach out to Martin if you'd like to, as you hear more about this, if you'd like to participate in this. I know Martin had mentioned that a goal of his is to not just do this one, but to come back and do other Freedom Sings events, have a local chapter, have some even local songwriters get involved in the future with our veterans, and that would be a wonderful thing to carry out. And you talked about the gentleman that you met who'd had his story told. You had your story told as well, didn't you, Martin?
I did. That's probably why I had part of the reason I had such a connection with that, because I've been through it. I've been that veteran who I didn't think I had a story to tell, which I think most veterans, if you talk to them, will tell you the same thing. Even veterans who've been through all sorts of harrowing things. Yeah, just another day at the office. And so I didn't think that I did, and I had put it off, sort of avoided it, and finally did it about a year ago, I think, last fall. I went through it, and I went through virtually. They conduct these classes weekly from Chattanooga, virtually and in person. So I went through the virtual edition, and through about 3 or 4 classes, they just asked me about my service. I served 4.5 years in the Marine Corps before I got out, and then spent another 22 years part-time and full-time in the Illinois Army National Guard. But I really, even though I have more time in the Guard, I have some fantastic bonds with people that I served with. I had a year in Iraq with a lot of these guys, but I still identify more as a Marine. I have a bracelet that I wear that has the Marine Corps emblem on it, I don't have one that has my Army National Guard stuff on it. So my song is about that formative time and what that time in the Marine Corps did for me um, as a younger man, and got me really to where I am today.
And Martin has shared that song with us. I'm going to play a little bit for our audience to get to hear. Just an example. This was just recorded as after just a couple days work. You say after a couple of times talking to them, the song was written, and this is a kind of a demo of the song for us. We're not going to play the whole thing, but first chorus and first verse and chorus. Give us a couple of minutes worth, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the process.
59 years old, looking back on my life. Did a lot of things wrong, but I did a few things right. I graduated law school when I was born to fail. That boy who wouldn't try had to bust his tail. That boot camp in San Diego when I was 18 gave me the drive and the pride of a U.S. Marine. It taught me integrity, a love for something more than me, a brotherhood like I've never seen. There's no race in the Corps, we all bleed green. I learned to be the man I someday be. I'll always be a U.S. Marine.
Okay, so who are we hearing sing on there, Martin?
That's Steve Dean. He's a Nashville songwriter. If you're probably his biggest song is "Daddy, I'm Watching You," and I've just the artist's name is just gone.
Rodney Atkins, is that the artist?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, that's the song "Watching You."
In addition to other things, he's written a variety of things for other artists, Alabama, Oak Ridge Boys, and so he typically does the music for them. And this is just the rough cut, him playing his guitar, recording it on his phone, and then they've actually cut a professional recording of my song that we don't have yet.
Well, that's terrific, and so the process again, you said, was just going on. You telling the songwriter that I'm sure that they've gotten to where they've got some skills in pulling that out of you a little bit, and again, like you said, some veterans are going to have to be convinced that this is a story, this is something that needs to be shared. And I keep thinking about it. I wasn't in the military myself. My dad was in the Army, and I think about my father right at the end of the Korean War, joining up right out of high school. I think about being that age and stepping into that world. He knew he wasn't going to be in battle because the Korean War had the conflict there had kind of wrapped up. He was going to be going to Korea. He did end up going to Korea in some of the peacetime after. But after finishing high school, walking right into the service, no matter what, the boot camp experience on, it's something that just kind of becomes a part of you, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It was a defining moment in my life. I was just having some conversations with another Marine friend of mine about that very topic, the boot camp, and how 30, 40 years later, how significant an impact it was on my life, especially as a white kid from an all-white town, having never left and go to boot camp. And I'm with all races and colors and religions, and it just really shaped which is one of the lines that is in that song about because that was a line from the drill instructor was, there's no race, we're all different shades of green. And
yeah.
A little bit of an oversimplification maybe, but it really helped shape who I am, and a lot of other people too. I think many young people who join the military, so their first time away from home and out of there, and a big part of the military. I don't know what the exact percentage is, but they come from small rural communities like Marion, and there are not as many people going from Chicago as there are from rural communities. We make up a huge percentage of the military.
We talk about our veterans that served in wartime, and we were mentioning that we are still looking for a Vietnam era veteran, a Korean War veteran, to take part in Freedom Sings when it happens in Marion on September 7th. freedomsingsmarion@gmail.com if you're interested in that. As we were, as I think about those eras and those veterans coming home after those conflicts, and how much better we've gotten as a nation in supporting and welcoming home and encouraging those who served, and wartime, peacetime, it's a challenge. It's a challenge to readjust to civilian life, and this is just one more thing. In the case of some of these veterans, better late than never, right? To be able to come in and say, hey, we affirm what you did for us. I think the honor flights, the veterans honor flights, another thing like that. Our memorials in Washington, D.C., even locally, all the organizations our friend Tom Harness is involved in. He was a Marine also, and he's Army. I think he's Army. He's Army. Yeah. But again, as you said, I mean, he is there as a resource and a good friend to Marines, soldiers from the Army, Navy, all of these folks that come home with various needs, different stages. As somebody that served in the way that you did, Martin, what were some of the specific challenges for you? You talked about your time in the service, and then you talked about your time in the Army National Guard. And so does that help with the adjustment when you take that where it's kind of moderates your service a little bit? How does that work?
Some ways it does, some ways it doesn't. It was easier when I first joined the Guard, when I got out of the Marine Corps back in the 80s, and I originally joined the Marine Corps Reserve and then transitioned to the National Guard. But it was 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks in the summer. I had great educational benefits. That's why I joined. It was a part-time job on the weekends, and we would load up the trucks for annual training, and they would be loading the Jeeps, and part of loading them would be like how much beer they could get in the Jeeps to go to training. I mean, it was summer camp, and then 9/11, and it all changed.
Possibility of deployment at any time.
All the time. The training became real, and so that became more difficult, straddling that line between civilian jobs, but less so for me because I was active duty at that time, active duty in my community, living there. But the part-time folks, it was difficult because it wasn't just 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks in the summer. There were more weekends and longer summers and a lot more demands on being away. But then, the transition from that and most soldiers or airmen who are in the Guard serve in their community, so they know their friends, and that's kind of where they grew up. And then they deploy, and they come back, and many of them, are still in that community, which is different than active duty. Oftentimes, you deploy with your unit, you come back, and then you might get moved to another unit, and they get moved, and so the community element is very strong and very helpful in that transition until it's all done, until you get out, and then there's that separate transition that can be a challenge.
Another fun thing about this is that this event on the 7th is going to happen the plan is to have it happen right there in the center of the square. Yeah. And each of these songwriters will be working with a veteran, and the veteran will get to stand there as their song is sung. But then the songwriters will be performing some of their music too. Yeah,
exactly. They have this Artists in the Round where they kind of dismiss the veterans and move on from that part, and they set up 4 chairs. There are going to be 4 songwriters and play songs that they have written for other people that most people would recognize, and a little banter and talk for another hour or so afterwards.
Mm-hmm. And we're gonna have one of the big jumbo screens set up. It's good. We really want the square to be packed with people and support not just of our veterans, but just coming together to enjoy a nice summer concert night based around our patriotism and our honoring of these veterans. The night before, another event, right, at Little Nashville.
Yeah, that's the second piece of this. So I guess the songwriters will write their song on Friday. They spend the day with the veteran getting their story and write the song. And the normal cycle would be that day they write the song is the day they debut it. So they're learning it, getting the story, writing the song, and playing it all that same day. In this case, we're bumping the big culminating concert to Saturday to go with the mayor's vision of basing it around Veterans on Parade.
Mm-hmm.
But so on Friday, we're going to do an open mic night. Little Nashville is excited, gracious to partner with us on that. With an open mic night with veterans preference is what I'm calling it. So that's something we also are looking for veterans who are musicians or want to be musicians. They play a little, play a lot, to come out to Little Nashville on that Friday, the 6th, from 6 to 9. And if they sign up, they're going to get bumped because Little Nashville does. They do open mic nights now, and the list is usually packed, and it can sometimes they usually stay until everybody gets a shot, but depending on how busy. But on that night, like I said, we'll have veterans preference, and we'll make sure that the veterans get on stage. And we're also going to use that as we're going to have some ammo cans out. It's a little fundraiser to raise funds for Freedom Sings, the national organization, not this event, but just the national organization. Yeah. And all those songwriters will be at that event too. So they won't play the song that they've written. We'll hold that back till Saturday, but they may play other songs. Maybe I can talk Steve into playing my song. I don't know.
There you go.
And then they'll be hanging out, and then the other veterans and other folks who want to play can play on Friday night. So the mayor's got this vision, and you talked about earlier about welcoming the veterans and accepting, and that's really one of the things. The Mayor Absher has his vision for Marion being that community that rallies around its veterans. Hence that hashtag Marion Stands with Veterans. And he wants that weekend to be just really focused on veterans. We want to pack the square with tons of people, but tons of veterans that Saturday night. We want to recognize them too and acknowledge them for their service. So even if people don't want to participate in the song or the Friday night event, the veterans just showing up, we would just love to have as many veterans as we can in the square that night, because we want to recognize their service.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can just see Marion really jumping on board with this, and the whole region jumping on board with this and being a part of it. So we'll look forward to that. This is exciting. We appreciate you, Martin, for being aware of this organization yourself and bringing this helping bring all this together and tying all this together for our community. Something that we can look forward to on September 7th. We can probably look forward to seeing it again in the future, because I think this is going to be a big hit. Again, if you are a Vietnam or Korean War veteran, we're still looking for veterans to participate this time around from that era. Trying to narrow down the right candidates for this first time around. So if you're interested in that, you can contact Martin at freedomsingsmarion@gmail.com. And I'd encourage you to do it soon, because we are going to be putting more and more details together on this. There's going to be an event for sponsors, I believe, on Thursday. There's going to be the event at Little Nashville on Friday, and then the big event for all of the public on Saturday. We'll keep bringing you details through the Swinford Media Group and our publications and our social media. And Martin, anything else that we need to add?
I think that's the big stuff. I guess there's always, we are sort of self-funded, so I guess I could always make a plug if anybody would like to make a donation to the organization. It costs to bring the songwriters here and to feed them and put them up and all those things. So if anybody would want to contribute, they could also email us about that as well.
Yeah. Ask
Welcoming those
Martin.
donations.
Ask Martin how you can help, how you can support this, because this is just a dynamite idea.
Thanks.
I love it. I'm so excited to be there. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll look forward to it. Thank you, Martin. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Bill and Monica. It was great to be here.
We've done plenty today. I mean, I think if we as a community come together and support this Freedom Sings event, and supporting our veterans in that way, and just have a good time at an outdoor concert, how great is that?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really excited for it. Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's all the time we've got today, and thanks for listening and watching. I'm Bill Swinford.
And I'm Monica Daniels.
Until next time.